Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm here with another descended deck profile, and this time I'll be covering the upgraded Kashuu Kiyomitsu Kiwame deck. So compared to the previous version, the playstyle is completely different. Before we are like heavily using up all our counterblocks in order to boost our Vanguard for 10k, and we will need to keep looking at the top cards of the deck to bring yourself miracles with triggers and such. But this time we are actually be doing a lot of multiple attacking your Vanguard. So the playstyle again is completely different, and for some reason this deck is actually climbing up to the top. And compared to Mikazuki, this deck is way more stable, I would say, and it didn't rely on having a lot of regards on the board that much. Of course, if you have a full board, that will be uh, maximize your power and damage output. But even without that, you can still kind of do some stuff. So that's what Mikazuki can bring you, and Mikazuki do kind of rely on your trigger luck to actually be good. But this, you of course, if you have a good trigger luck, that's great. And there are cards that helping you to increase that kind of trigger luck. Even though without the previous, like keep looking at the top of the deck, you're still kind of uh, being able to bring the luck up. So let's look into the deck further and see what my build is. So for right line, I can see some people are using like the Mikazuki grade 1 and 2. The reason of having that is instead of just looking at one to put it on top of Bakuyo so you can look at two. But I think this right line is still kind of doing me good, and the grade 2 and the grade 3 is right on top. You can actually search yourself another card, which can be a good attacker while you don't have anything. While your hand is full of triggers, you still have something to beat. Or when you use your Kiwame Sentou skill, you have an extra card for the cost. Yeah, so that's why I'm still going with this bright line instead of using the Mikazuki one. But if you want to, you can change these two to the Mikazuki one, but the grade 2 will basically just be a vanilla because you do need to have a lot of stuff in order to activate that skill, and that's for Mikazuki, not for other builds. Now, so what are Kiyomitsu Kiwame Sentou is doing is a few things. First, he's also considered himself as a Kashuu Kiyomitsu Kiwame. That's why you can use your uh, grade 2 skill, because they are kind of the different name because you add the Sentou in there, but then they are considered the same unit, so you can still activate it, and that will links to other cards as well. Uh, and that's also kind of like the Magus or Hexagord that you can just personalize it differently because they are still considering the same unit. And okay, so another skill is a Vanguard Circle once per turn. If you personal roll this turn, the cost you can change it to counter blast 1, but usually it's at the end of the battle when this unit is attacked, you can discard one card from your hand and put a card with the same card name as this unit from Regal Circle or hand into your soul. Then stand this unit and then increase or decrease your critical and drive to 1 until end of the turn. And if your soul has 2 or more grade 3 cards with Kashuu Kiyomitsu in their card names, this unit will get another skill, which is another once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacks, counterblast 1, stand this unit, and it gets -1 drive. Until end of the turn, that's it. So there's a lot of text you need to digest. First is if you keep personalizing, the cost you can choose to counterblast 1, or you can choose to discard a card and also put a card with the same unit as this card, which is the Sentou one or the Kiwame one. So that's why it's important that you have both and you add a lot of them. And then to extend this unit, and then you have to turn your drive and crit to 1. So if for whatever reason that you increase your drive, during your first attack, for example with the OT, then you're doing 3 drive checks, right? And then when you stand yourself for the first time, the drive will come from 3 to 1. It's not -1, it's become 1. So, or for whatever reason that the drive becomes 0, the first time you restand, it will turn into 1. So that's, you need to be very careful on where you put your plus drive and plus grid 2, especially if you over trigger, because if you put it first all on Vanguard, they will just all gone after you restand for the very first time, because your crit and drive will turn into 1. So you might consider put it to your regards, unless you, when you put the crit, when you put the drive to your Vanguard with your OT, that's a fatal blow, then go for it. If not, I probably won't be putting it on my first one. And after your restance, you can do a normal attack with a single drive with 1 crit, and then depending on what you trigger, things will change. And because if you have 2 or more Kashuu Kiyomitsu Graveyard cards, then you will simply be unlocked with the second skill, which is counter +1 standing unit and -1 drive. So normally you're doing 2 drives, restand, turn into 1, attack, and by then if you have 2, which usually not happening unless you're very lucky with your grade 1 skill on right by the grade 2. When you look at the top card, it is a grade 3 Kashuu Kiyomitsu, then you can put it in. Then the first time you run your grade 3, you can actually do it, because you will put 1 into your soul, and the other one you can only rely on this. If not, then it usually will be your person right. So when you have 2, you counter +1 stand this unit, and it will -1 drop, so it will turn to 1, -1 to 0. So your third attack will be 0 drive, probably a big beater. But if your first restand, you turn everything to 1, right? And then you attack, and then if you hit an OT, then this time you can actually consider putting all the crit and drive to your Vanguard, or even the 100 million, because after that, when you counter +1 to restand it with the second extra gain skill, because it's not turn into 1, it's -1. So you turn into 1, +1 drive with the OT, -1, you can still do 1 drive. And your crit will still remains, because this time the crit and drive is not turned into 1. So those can remain. So it's, of course you can't control when your OT appears, but if it happens after your first attack restand, and when you're doing your second attack, when you do have a third attack, then that will be probably the most ideal situation for you to just go in. Right. So it's up to you which part of the cost you want to play when you're person right, because sometimes I do want to save my counter blast for something else, so I won't be doing the counter blast for the first restand, even if I person right. And also another reason is I probably have too many Kiyomitsu that is not Sentou. Then I rather just put them into my soul, so that I don't need to use my counter blast. And since they are in my hand and no shield value, they won't give me any extra benefit. So yeah, but that's basically what you need to know about the grade 3. I know I speak a lot, but I think that's the most important part that you do need to know. While your Vanguard is basically the main beater, the main win con of the deck. And then we have 4 of the training plays. So training plays is just good. It just turn everything that is not an OT, not a heal, back to your deck and turn into something else, a normal unit. That worst case is a PG, but even that is still going to help you out. And the more training places you have, meaning your unit that being called will be bigger, and you have more choices to pick from, which is very important. And the normal units that we are using is actually quite precise. So except hitting a PG, usually that won't hurt you. And even if you find into one of these, that will be great because you will be using your Sentou skill to put a Kiyomitsu into your soul from regular circle or hand anyway. So if they are on the board, then you can attack with them, then put them into your soul. That won't hurt you at all. And then 3 more Sentou, because we do one person right. Not only for a possibility of cost change, and also of course the plus 10k to the front row. And then 3 more previous Kashuu Kiyomitsu Kiwame. So this is mainly the cost to put into a soul. I won't ride onto this card unless I really don't have a choice. Usually I won't, because just withstanding will still be better than re-riding on him. While he don't have any withstanding, he only gains 10k and only get to draw a card and look. So again, it's mainly the cost. That's why I'm not mainly adding more than 3. I think this ratio is probably enough, because once you go into person ride, you get to choose anyway. So you don't need to do it too often. That's what I would say. And you only need to have 2 of these into your soul. After that, you just all the situation cleared, so you don't need to actually worry about having too many anymore. And it's searchable, so yeah, that's why. Okay. Next, this card name is actually really long. So this is Izumi no Kami HASATA Kiwame. So this is a new card from the set, and as you can see, I have all the versions. Of course, maybe I'm just lucky. So this is a very important card and also a very generic card that he got 2 skill. One is a continuous regular circle during your turn. If you have a greater or less regard in the same column as this unit, this will get plus 5k. So it's a very simple to gain 15k attacker. And second skill, front row regard circle. When you're grade 3 or higher Vanguard with Kashuu Kiyomitsu or Musu no Kami Yoshioki in this kind of attacks, then put this card from the bottom of the deck from regard circle, draw 1 card and choose 1 Vanguard plus 5k until the end of the battle. Now with the second skill, you can activate from any of the attacks that your Vanguard is doing as you like. So because he can only activate once, because he will go to the bottom of the deck, but you can choose. So for example, the first time you just swing for 13 and then you withstand, right? And the second time, then you can actually use him to go to the bottom. And before you're doing your second attack, you can actually attack with him first, and then attack and turn him to the bottom of the deck, plus 5k to the Vanguard, draw a card. So this can make a lot of calculation become different, and that little 5k sometimes can be annoying, really, because instead of doing a 15k 2 pass, a 15k is only a 1 pass now. So that's, to me, is very important. And since we are withstanding 2 times maximum, so any different way of adjusting power through different time is just so good for me. So I like this card so much, and he is searchable with another great ones that we will be talking about very soon. So that's just a great card. And then a specific support, which is Yamato no Kami HASATA Kiwame. So this is a Kashuu Kiyomitsu focus support that got 2 skills. First one is a auto skill. When it's unit placed on regard circle, count plus 1, look at top 7 of your deck. Then choose a grave view or greater card with Kashuu Kiyomitsu, so one of these. Add it to your hand. and shuffle your deck. If you did not reveal a card, so say if you can't search anything, then you can choose a unit card with Kashuu Kiyomitsu incarnate from your drop zone and put it into your hand. So as long as you have one in the drop zone, you will guarantee yourself a copy. So you can Soul Blast one out to get it back, or you can use him as a ride cost, you can use him as a PG cost and then turn him back. So that's a really helpful skill. The only weak point is you don't have him in the drop zone and you activate this skill, look at top 7, you get nothing. That's probably the worst case, but that's kind of fine as well. Even though you don't get to counter charge back, but having the chance to look at top 7 of the deck to find one or get one from the drop is actually being big. And his second skill is if your Vanguard is Kashuu Kiyomitsu in his card name, and that card is getting standard by card ability distance, so basically his own ability, then this unit will get plus 10k. It's not keep going on, it's like if this happens for the turn, so he will only get plus 10k for the whole turn, no matter how many times you stand your Vanguard. So but it's still a very good 20k attacker, basically for free, because you don't need to activate the first skill and the second skill just there, as long as you withstand, and as long as you're playing this deck you're withstanding whatever. So yeah, and he helps you to find another copy, so that helps you to withstand. I think that's really important in the deck, and it's a must for fall off. Yeah. Okay. And then two more. Normal Yamato no Kami Yasusada. So this is searchable for your right line. When you go from 2 to 3, you will get one for free. So this will be a good card to ditch. And if you don't have any attackers, you can just play him counter loss for plus 10k. So I don't see a reason you don't run any copy of this if you're using this right line. And the reason I'm running 2 is I don't mind him to be on the field in my hand, and I do want to increase my chances to not getting it to damage and can't search anything, so I'm running 2. But if you prefer to take one out, then the next card you can actually run a 4 off, which is the Horikawa Kunihiro Kiwame. So he is basically the searcher of this, and as long as your Vanguard is with your higher, and when this card is placed on Mega Circle, kind of just want to search your deck for this and call it to your Mega Circle, basically. And then a Shinken Hisatsu skill, so if you have 3 or more damage, then when your other regards in the same column as this unit is placed on the Mega Circle, other than from your hand. So basically you use his skill to call him in front of him, then you get plus 5k, because your Vanguard will be Kashuu Kiyomitsu anyway, so Kiyomitsu. So it's basically kind of direct support as well. So as long as you have these pair, you will kind of like the Shaolin King, Chakurabu, or any kind of similar stuff that you call you get a whole column, and then you go to attack for higher, and then they got their own skill to benefit your Vanguard. Okay, and next I am running Imano Tsurugi Kiwami. So this is a power adjust, because when this unit boosts as a rearguard, you can Soul Blast 1, choose one of your Vanguard, and it gets plus 5 until end of the turn. If you've chosen a unit with Iwatoshi in its card name, which is not happening, then you won't get them. So you won't get the extra plus 5k. And it's Shinken Hisatsu. At the end of the battle, this unit boosts, you can retire this unit to counter charge, which is very important, because if we press on right, we can choose to counter blast 1. These will use your counter blast anyway, so having a chance to counter charge allows you to have options to open into all the skills. which to me I think is very important. And being able to boost your Vanguard for 5k like this is going to help a lot. And then for PGs, just because they are PGs. If you want to use the Blitz order again, feel free to use them. As I always say, I just don't have that much, and I think this is helping me enough. I don't see any triple drive Vanguards, so I don't kind of care. But if you do want to switch, it's all optional. And triggers. The Neo OT, just because it's so good, especially when you are like withstanding so many times, and every single drive check is going to make your opponent's headache. And even that, you can still turn a drive check to your rearguard, which can also be these. So I don't see a reason you don't use this, at least for now. And then soaring crit. We do use soul sometimes, so soaring crit is just great. More crits. And then I'm running 4 effect fronts. Some people use draw. That probably can help you stay in the game longer, but I turn the game plan to finish my opponents a lot faster, and I usually just use my Vanguard to go in first, so any kind of front triggers is going to benefit me so much. And for some reason, I'm just so love to use 20k front for the defensive, and as long as my Vanguard is not going to attack only for one time, that is just going to be great. Unless you're like Sogger, then you rather don't deck you out with a draw. You always use front trigger because you can just reuse them, and again, you have your training plays to just make it better. So, and then 4 heals. Yeah. So that's the deck list. Game plan: keep swinging your Vanguard, keep your rearguard standing with high power, and before your Vanguard do your last attack with this first, and then turn that into another 5k power and another card as a draw, and that's probably it. Because usually, if your early game you go kind of aggro enough, like at least doing 2 attacks per turn, then usually you can push your opponent to high damage, because you will keep squeezing your deck out with normal units, even though you're returning one and calling back, right? But you still like keep shuffling your deck, and usually you are putting triggers back to your deck, and they call a normal unit. So the ratio of getting triggers will be higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. It just when it happens, right? So training plays is actually helping the deck so much, and especially with the deck that we're standing, and we don't need to keep looking at the top cards of our deck anymore. We can just go freely, we set up our board, and we get to search, we get to squeeze more normal units out. They will go back, they will turn into something else, but that can still increase your ratio of getting triggers just by playing it normally. And for some reason, I can still beat like decks with a whole bunch of cards in their hand. So maybe they have a lot of non-shield cards, but still, if they like keep drawing cards, and usually it's not that easy to break through, but this deck is going to help you out to actually break through those, because every single Vanguard attack hurts. Yeah, that's what I can say. And I'm very surprised that this deck can actually climb up to be like one of the meta choice, and I can understand it compared to Mikatsuki, that you really can't do too much with that deck, and as long as you keep getting your stuff retired, like Mikatsuki can't actually run and to be threatening. But this deck, you can just you hit hard, you keep attacking, you basically have everything except being defensive. So some people might say if you get draw triggers, you will be kind of defensive, but in the end, you will still be playing a lot of cards on the board, and you will pumping them up, going a very aggro turn to do 4 to 5 attacks with big numbers, just for them to stop. Having resources in the hand. So this is actually a very good deck, and I like it, and I can see the reason why he's the most expensive one, which I only pulled 2 and I need to bought 2. So yeah, but I'm lucky with these, and I'm lucky with him. So overall, very happy with the updates, and again, very surprised with a game change, like game plan change completely to something else, and he actually become very strong. And I think a lot of token rival fans will be happy that they can see this deck shine and actually bring you victory, and it's being a meta option. Yeah. So I think that's it for me today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments down below. Subscribe for more deck profiles, deck fights, unboxing videos. Like and share with your friends. And I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.